It's no secret that one of the finest lures of all for smallmouth bass, holding shallow during any part of the open water season, is a hard stick bait style lure often called a jerkbait. Here, on a fine late spring morning, we offer expert instruction in how to fine-tune the process of fishing with this lure. This strategy will work for you wherever you fish.
Got all of it, that's for sure. That is a fat little bass right there. Okay, come here. Beautiful fish, nice start to the morning. And if there's one thing that I mean, and I don't use the term revolutionary all that often, but if there's one thing that really has revolutionized fishing for smallmouths and a lot of other fish, it is these hard slash type jerk baits. And you know, first, this is an X-Wrap, a number 12 X-Wrap. And so for so many years, of course, we use the Husky jerk, which is also one of the all-time great lures. But this really has supplanted that Husky jerk in many, many instances, not the least of which when you're fishing for smallmouth bass, this has got 2 hooks, which is better than 3 hooks on the number 12 Husky jerk. A lot of times we were getting eyes, a lot of times. You rarely have problems with this bait in that instance. But it's also one of the finest fishing baits there is. And we're going to talk about some of the subtleties of using this this hard slash type bait, the X-Wrap. Here, there's a lot of subtleties once again, not the least of which is the fact that you don't have to work it in extreme fashion. It's billed as an extreme bait, but it's certainly in the springtime, it's got all the attributes that you want for fishing very, very subtly and triggering fish. You know, one of the great advantages of this bait is that it really, really casts well. It's got this counterbalance weight system in it, and you can cast it into the wind, you can cast it obviously with the wind, but make long casts. The rattle is one of the best rattles in. All I can tell you is you fish this bait, that rattle calls fish. And that's one of the things that you want to do early in the spring too. And you're going to work it real subtly. You've made the long cast, you move it down, you count it down, and there's really 2 movements you want to make. You can do a pull, which just makes the bait wobble. So you do a pull and a stop, and a pull and a pull and a stop. And anytime in there, you can also do sharp snap jerks like that. And sometimes one's going to attract the fish and the other's going to get that triggering. So you want to make both of those moves a lot of times. That's all there is to working the bait. It's experimenting with those moves and always sticking the paws in there. And I myself like to begin aggressively as possible, and then if you're not getting action, I temper back from there with longer and longer and longer pauses. There's one. A little smallmouth. There you go. There we go. You know, they're just, it's still, you know, it's right now, it's what, 8:30 in the morning. The fish are a little bit lethargic yet. You know, the water temperature is 50 degrees, so these fish, as the day moves on, they're going to get progressively more onto these spots. And so my pause is really probably, you know, it's hard to say, I've caught 4 fish now, but, you know, it's got to be 5, 6, 10 seconds to actually trigger these fish. I think that's going to become progressively shorter also as the day goes on. So it's show the fish the bait and then stop it and try trigger them. You're reeling just a little bit to keep the line tight all the time. Give it a few taps like that. Let it set. A few taps when you're in position, that is. Give it a pause, a good pause. And then reel her in and cast again. Bring it down into the depth zone that you want it. Give it a pause. Keep reeling just very slowly. I'm using fire line, which floats, 10-pound Berkley fire line. And that really is very, very important because you can watch the line and control the depth very much The line moves. A lot of times all you'll do is you'll see the line move when they take off with it. There was a touch. Sometimes what you want to do in that situation is go to the smaller jerk bait. Now the little bait just fishes a little bit more subtly than the other one. And a lot of times, especially in the morning, they'll be on the small bait. A lot of times with the fire line, you can feel a fish swim by. Cast her out there and you'll get bit. There we go. Again, just watching the line. And sometimes that little switch up is all it takes with the smaller lure. And people will wonder, can you fish? Can you actually feel these fish swim by these lures and know that a fish is kind of sort of rejecting us? Absolutely. You can feel that with the fire line. Beautiful fish. Very pretty. So sometimes you got to go to the smaller bait. And again, as I've said, I also like to keep a 4-inch Berkley Power Grub on hand. And either one of these two, the fish will be on those a lot of times when they're not on that bigger one. And you can absolutely feel these fish come up and move past the bait a lot of times. Or they'll swim up to it real fast and stop. And you can absolutely, if you're paying attention with the fire line, feel that happening. And you can control the depth of your lure ultimately with how much how much fluorocarbon you have on the end of your fire line. I usually use about a 4-foot section of 15-pound fluorocarbon. There we go. Whoa, this is a big bass. There, come here. There we go, into the Stowmaster. Look at that. Oh man, just a little chunko right there. Beautiful red bronze eyes. Bronze back bass. Smallmouth bass. Oh, what a beautiful fish. Here we are. Is that beautiful or what? Thousands of fish so far, and that's just in a couple years. Oh man, did that thing just smoke it. You got that little point going into this little bay, a little cut. There's probably current here. There we go. And Stowmaster is so easy on fish. Here. There we go. Gotta get back in there. I think there's a big bunch in there. We'll see how long it takes. Jerk, jerk, show the fish the bait, stop it, see if they want it. They're there, they see it. Oh, did he smoke it? Must be a big fish. Pulling hard. Big bass. This is so much fun, and it's so simple, but I think in the end, as you know, every revolutionary system ultimately is a simple system. This new X-Wrap, or not new anymore, 2 years old, 3 years old, absolutely one of the finest baits ever created, especially for smallmouth bass. Cast far, makes a lot of noise, a lot of flash vibration. You can fish it fast or fish it real subtly and slow, like we're doing today. You have yourself a good time, a lot of fun with that bait.